Hello and welcome back to another session on methodology of literature. We begin with deconstruction. Post-structuralism and deconstructionism both are similar in their views. We can say that post-structuralist turn in criticism begins with Jacques Derrida's paper Structure, Sign and Play in the Discourse of Human Sciences at Johns Hopkins University in America. Derrida questions the critical writings of Claude Lévi-Strauss, the structuralist icon of the day. Derrida questions the structurality of structure. So what did Claude Lévi-Strauss speak about structure? We did study structure, and the structuralists, Saussure and the other structuralists, tried to find meaning in they tried to locate structure. Everything to them, everything could be understood only from structure, and the word also gives meaning only in relation to other words and also its binary opposites. Derrida questions this. Lévi-Strauss, he spoke largely about binary opposition. He also spoke about myth and kinship in relation to this. Lévi-Strauss was an anthropologist. According to him, this binary opposite was influenced by his study of linguistics. In order to understand language, you can understand it only by binary opposites. He felt that culture is composed of hidden rules that gives it meaning. According to him, every human being thinks through binaries or through opposites. Example, man and woman, death and life, morning and night, raw food, cooked food, and so on. He also states that in order to understand culture in society, you need to understand these binary opposites. They are universal. According to him, all cultures think like this. Likewise, these words make sense only in relation with one another. In other words, morning has meaning only in terms of night. If we remove night, morning ceases its meaning. So to him, language is understood on basis of its opposites. And he, being an anthropologist, states that the same thing applies to the society as well. Now, post-structuralists, they rejected these ideas. The structuralists tried to see everything from a signifier and signified relationship. According to them, signifier always relates to the signified. They do believe that the words are cultural constructs, but they try to locate the meaning from these cultural constructs. That is, to understand a particular meaning, you need to understand it in relation to other words. For example, hut. To understand the meaning of hut, we must be able to understand, or we can understand it only in relation to other dwelling places like a house, a flat, a thatched roof or a thatched house, a bungalow, a villa, a resort, and so on. From that, we will be able to come to a conclusion or an understanding of what hut is. So, post-structuralists, they rejected this idea. Post-structuralists, according to them, meaning is not or nowhere to be found. They believed in no meaning or no structure. They rejected the structuralist belief. According to the post-structuralists, they say that meaning is found nowhere. To Saussure, meanings are always arbitrary. People cannot communicate the exact idea or the same thing. I'll not be able to give you the same idea that I have in mind. You are listening and your images, your ideas of my lecture varies. Post-structuralists, according to them, there are no structures. So you cannot communicate the same idea. According to them, meaning is nowhere located, neither is it relational nor is it binary. The structuralists always believed that they never said that it is a natural phenomena. They understood or they believed that language is arbitrary, but they believed that they could locate the meaning in relation to other meanings, or they could locate the meaning in relation to its binary opposites. But the post-structuralists, they believe that this idea is wrong because meaning cannot be located. There is no structure at all. Now, to the binary opposites, they denounce that also. To the structuralists, as especially Claude Lévi-Strauss, everything exists according to the binary opposites, day and night, man and woman, etc. But the post-structuralist thinkers like Foucault, Michel Foucault and Roland Barthes, according to them, you can't understand the binary opposites. According to them, we mustn't show excessive loyalty to any one idea, because when you try to locate the meaning of a word by locating its opposite, you are committing a crime. We give privilege to certain words over the other words, which prevents the merit of the supposedly lesser word. Example, rich and poor. Here, rich appears to be more powerful word, and therefore more importance is given to the word rich, and poor is looked upon as an inferior status. However, the merit of being poor is not at all taken into consideration. There are many merits or a positive side of being poor. Those sides or those merits are not taken into consideration at all. They criticized, the post-structuralists criticized the structuralists and said that if we try to locate meaning in its binary opposites, it leads to an imbalance. Another example would be equality and inequality. Let's take the example of an Olympic race. If we give prime importance to equality, then all should be given prizes, all should be winners. But at that moment, we choose only the winner. In that way, what we are doing is giving importance to inequality. So, in this moment, we give more importance to which one? Inequality. Post-structuralist states that we must disrupt this sort of idea, which we take for granted. Nature versus culture, health versus sickness, good versus bad, true versus false. We give extreme importance to one particular word. Post-structuralist states that this is indeed, or this will have a lot of real life consequences because this in turn results in giving power to a particular group of people. Language has power, and because of this, language gives power to a particular group or particular idea. Now see, giving power does not mean the government. Power rests in a wider area. Power does not rest in, it's not like power rests in the ruling class. It's not that idea. It's different. Power rests in several places. Like for instance, power rests in education. You are being consciously transformed Then power rests in the family. Power rests in the church or the place of worship. Power rests in even in our normal day-to-day experiences. So power is not to do with a particular government or an institution alone. Power is a wider concept, and according to the post-structuralists, when we do this, when we give or when we look at the way the structuralists look at the words, we are giving or we are best giving power to language. So the post-structuralist states that these binary opposites are not true representation of reality. For example, let me give you an example. When we meet a person, we categorize them or we judge them based on these binary opposites: attractive or unattractive, exciting or dull, tall or short. So we categorize people, and some of these categories doesn't make any sense at all. And why do we do this? We do this because of this binary opposition. We give importance to whom? We give in tall and short. We unknowingly, unconsciously give importance to tall. Exciting and dull. We give more importance to exciting. We give more importance to attractive and not unattractive, and so on. So the word, a particular word, when you look at it from the binary opposition, more importance is given to a particular word and the other word lacks its importance. It's supposedly a lesser, it becomes a lesser word, and therefore we do not realize the merits of that particular or the supposedly lesser word. So the post-structuralists, they are totally against it, and they say that it is not the true representation of reality. Rather, they are simply constructed. We have constructed them. Our culture has constructed them. There is no tall or short people that can be classified, or they cannot be, people cannot be classified in that way. And these words are something that has been constructed. So post-structuralist thinkers are totally against binary opposition because it leads to a lot of problems. Throughout history, there will be some people over others. Now, this was just a small example that I told you. Now, let's look at, adverse situations. For example, throughout history, there will be some people over others. Like, for instance, white people over black. So when you say white and black, you give more importance to black, which in turn gives more importance to white and less importance to black, and this eventually leads to more power in the hands of people who are fair or in the hands of people who are white. And the black people, or the word black, because it is supposedly a lesser word, the black people loses power, and therefore the power rests in the hands of those who are fair, those who are white. Men over women, sane over insane. These binary opposites show the relationship between language and power. The word which appears positive is given power, and the word which is supposedly a lesser word becomes inferior. So indirectly, what happens is power rests in the hands of language, or language is given more power. Okay. So language gives meaning to objects, and the meaning it creates in each one of us is different. That is the reason why we say that our thoughts, our expressions, all these are outcomes, or they are powerful. Okay, because language gives meaning to object, and the meaning it creates in each one of us is different. Language is also to do with anything in the text. For instance, any text, I did tell you that when I taught you literary canon, any text, anything is a text. Okay, be it a painting, be it a picture, be it an audio clip, be it a film, be it a text, be it newspaper, everything is text. So text is a meaning, text is a sign, and all the signifiers relate to one another, the concept, the signified, and thereby they make their identity relational and differential according to the structuralists. Okay, but these signified concepts in turn are differential. That is, they also does the same thing as the signifiers do. They convey a signified concept, which means that the meaning is totally different for each one of us. The word tree is different to each one of us. It has different signifieds in it creates signified or different concepts in your mind, which in turn leads to different signifiers, right? For instance, when I say tree, to Rumeza it's a painting of a tree, to Sharon it's a mango tree, to Abin it's a jackfruit tree, to Hiba it's a walnut tree. So this tree, when I said tree, it leads to different signified images, which in turn leads to different signifiers again. Jackfruit tree, mango tree, walnut tree. So tree, different images, different, and which again leads to different signifiers. So we start with one signifier, we come to many signifieds, which in turn leads to many signifiers again. Many other words are created in your mind. Other words. So a concept leads to other words also. So where can we locate meaning? It goes back, and that too it multiplies and goes. Right? From one signifier you go to many signifieds, which in turn leads to many signifiers, which goes on. And where can you locate the meaning? You can't locate the meaning. Structuralists, on the other hand, says that you can locate the meaning. Okay? And it's all about the sign. The signifier leads to the signified, and these two forms a sign. But the post-structuralists say that it is not easy to locate meaning from the signified point of view. The post-structuralist believes in no structure at all, and the concept of binary opposition is also thrown out. I hope that much is clear to you. Now we move on to Jacques Derrida. Jacques Derrida is famously known for his deconstructionism. He was an Algerian Jew, and he faced a lot of challenges throughout his life because of being a Jew. You can see the same idea in his works as well. Derrida believed that there is nothing outside the text. Anything, be it social values, communication, personal identity, everything is textual. Not just literature, but any social aspect. Anything we think is based on language. The way we think about our world, about ourselves. You need to think about anything. If you need to think about anything, you need language. You cannot think without the use of language, and that is what he meant by saying that there is nothing outside the text. Everything is contained in language, text as of language. All our life is textual. Our preferences is textual. Our beliefs are textual. Even our wallpaper preferences are textual. Our personal identity is textual, which means that everything we think is based on language. He gives a term, aporia, which means a puzzle or in a state of puzzle, which means you are always in a state of doubt. Sometimes when we think of an idea, we are doubtful or we are in a state of confusion. Say, we read an article about love marriage and arranged marriage. At one point, we find love marriage interesting or good, and at another point, we find arranged marriages as better. This state of a contradiction or this state of doubt is aporia. Derrida feels that this is a mark of maturity. We mustn't rush to conclusions too soon. It is in this state of no synthesis, that is doubtfulness or contradiction, that we are mature. You don't need to understand anything too perfectly. You need to be in that state of confusion. He says that everything is unstructured in the world, so you cannot understand things at times, unlike the structuralist who states that everything follows a structure. Structure is understood, or we can understand the whole only by relating to the other larger section. For example, which I gave you when I taught structuralism, building, windows, doors, etc. So these are all small components. They also have meaning, but they are given meaning, or the whole meaning comes out perfectly only. They are insignificant, but they become significant only when we take the whole building into consideration. That's what the structuralists say. But the post-structuralists argue that even that is wrong. Meaning is nowhere to be found. But Derrida says sometimes we feel confused, we are unsure, and it is perfectly okay to feel so, because this unsurety is a mark of maturity. This applies in literature also. Sometimes in a text or a work of literature, that you will find a lot of contradictory statements, lot of where you find the author goes on contradicting everything that he says. He goes on contradicting and contradicting. He says something, then contradicts it, and there is no end to it. You are involved in a text that you cannot understand completely. You are in a state of confusion or doubt. This state is called aporia, and is pretty okay because this is because even in reality we cannot find structure. Okay. Next, we come to another term, logocentrism. You have logocentrism and phonocentrism. So, what logocentrism mean is, see, it has two meanings. One is speech, and the other one is reason. It's a Greek term, and in the modern world, we are more focused on. Let's first analyze what it means by reason. There are two varying meanings. So there are two meanings to it. One is speech, logo. Centric means one is speech and the other one is reason. Let's first look at reason and then move to the most important one, that is logocentrism as speech. Now, in the modern world, we are more focused on reason than emotion. We give prime importance to reason or logic. We give very less importance to emotion. Derrida says that we mustn't be focusing only on reason. We must focus on both reason and emotion. That is, when I try to measure the IQ of a person, I do not include certain important characteristics of the person. IQ will never tell you whether the person can maintain a relationship. IQ cannot tell you whether the person can maintain an emotional or sustain an emotional turmoil, right? And so on. So IQ gives importance to one important trait, and that is reason or logic. So he says that therefore giving more importance, it cannot quantify IQ being a very reasonable trait, cannot quantify such important qualities like which one? Emotions. So that Derrida says that this is a limitation, and therefore we mustn't be focusing only on reason. This is the limitation of reason. We must not focus on reason alone. We must focus on both reason. We must give importance to both reason and emotion. Okay, so logocentrism in all our, all of us are extremely logocentric. We can say that all of us focus on reason or logic, and it's time we need to move away from logocentrism, and we must give importance to emotions as well. Now, when it comes to literature, logocentrism can be understood in the form of speech. So here I come to the next point, logocentrism as of speech. Logo in Greek also means speech. So according to Derrida, logocentrism is a way of thinking where we value speech more than writing. In the past, Plato, Aristotle, all of them gave importance to speech. According to them, speech is superior to writing. Why? Because to them, speech is a kind of presence. What presence? That is, when I am speaking to you, I am present. Though it is a video, I am still present before you. My speech comes to you. So you can feel the presence of the speaker. But in writing, there is an absence of the writer. And therefore, writing is regarded as a substitute for speaking. Speech is better than writing, because in speech there is the presence of writer, and in writing there is the absence of the speaker or the one who communicates. So logocentrism and phonocentrism, it gives more importance to speech and writing. So logocentrism and phonocentrism gives importance to speech and writing. He argues that the Western beliefs are rooted in logocentrism and phonocentrism. According to the logocentrists, the linguistic sign consists of a signifier, which derives its meaning from a signified idea or concept. Logocentrism asserts the exteriority of the signifier to the signified, and writing is conceptualized as exterior to speech, and speech is conceptualized as exterior to thought. Thus, to the logocentric theory, writing is merely form of language which draws its meaning from speech. Meaning, language gives more importance to speech. They give prime importance to speech and not writing. And writing is therefore marginalized. Okay, so what is this exteriority of signifier to the signified? For example, think of the signifier tree. Okay, the concept that comes to your mind, the tree, right, is the signified, and the word, the signifier, that is the tree, the word is exterior to the signified. It stands outside, it's exterior to the signified. Okay, and this particular tree is an outcome of a thought or an idea. So the logocentrism asserts that writing is a substitute of speech, and that writing is an attempt to restore the presence of speech. That is, we resort to writing only when we fail to see or talk to each other, and thus it is just a substitute, nothing more than that. So logocentric commits to the belief that, or in an idea of a certain ultimate word, presence or essence or truth or reality as the very foundation of all our thoughts, language, and experiences. So it is a shared belief. All our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, customs, everything gets an utterance through what? Through language. This is known as transcendental signified. This was described by Derrida as metaphysics of presence, which is motivated by a desire for transcendental signified. Transcendental signified is one that transcends all signifiers and is a meaning which transcends all signs. A transcendental signified is also a signified concept or thought which transcends any single signifier but which is implied by all determinations of meaning. So it boils down to what? It boils down to this: power, authority, construct. So slowly the deconstructionist, the post-structuralist, asserts that our thought, expressions, etc. are governed by language. Language thus is a powerful tool to rule, to govern, to express, etc. Language gives meaning to object. It uses images, it explores meanings, it creates prejudices, it creates images. So in a way, it becomes a powerful tool of control, a control where we accept without questioning. One example would be, in India, Shakespeare is considered a very important person in English studies, but in UK it is not so. He is just one among the writers, great writers. Why? Well, this was created. This was consciously created by the colonists. And for what? To subjugate us. They introduced us, or they introduced English and Shakespeare as a part of the curriculum when they introduced in education reforms. This was only to subjugate us. Terry Eagleton notes it as a tool to dominate the colonized. Shakespeare becomes important thus. Now, I told you this to understand how language plays a part in power. I don't mean the English language, I mean language as speech. Language as of the shared beliefs that is used by a set of people in power. So logocentrism, or metaphysics of presence, is motivated by the desire for a center that is stable, that is permanent, and that faultlessly governs the structure. Derrida called this transcendental signified as it transcends all signifiers and is a meaning that transcends all signs. The best example for transcendental signified would be God. God cannot be represented by a signifier, yet God is something that is signified differently in different religions. They are made up of the constructed images, and they become a reality. So this is transcendental, an example for transcendental signified, which therefore gives to all these terms functions as what Derrida calls transcendental signified, or concepts which is invested in absolute authority, which thus places them beyond being questioned or examined. Thus, Derrida tries to deconstruct these transcendental signified. So he is against the logocentrism, he is against the transcendental signified, he tries to deconstruct it. Derrida uses the concept of difference to prove this. The spelling of difference used by Derrida is different. Derrida uses the term difference, difference, to prove this. Now, difference The word difference comes from the French word différer, which means to differ and to differ. And he coins it to make the word difference, which is different from the word difference, difference. Now we'll take a look at this clearer. Look at this word itself. The word, though it sounds the same, the word as the word difference, difference, it is only when we write that we can see the difference between the two concepts or the two words. So writing is better than speaking, because it is only in writing that certain things become clear. So in logocentrism, which stated that speech is better than writing, Derrida differs to it. He denounces this idea. He rejects the idea. He uses difference to show what he meant, or what he means by giving more importance to writing than speech. Now this is just a small example. I thought I'll use that word itself to give you the difference to state that writing is better than speech according to Derrida, how he deconstructs the logocentric idea. Now the main concept of difference means we cannot understand the signified. Now I hope you understood what a signifier and a signified is. Signifier is the word and signified is the concept. പറയുന്ന വാക്ക് അതിനെയാണ് signifier എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അതിൽ നിന്നും how we utter it, the sound, and how the sound and the word creates an image in your mind or concept in your mind is the signified. Okay, so signifier is the word, signified is the concept. Together structuralist എന്താണ് പറയുന്നത്? Structuralist പറയുന്നത് ഈ സിഗ്നിഫയറും സിഗ്നിഫൈഡും കൂടെ ചേരുമ്പോഴാണ് സൈൻ ആവുന്നത്. ഒരു സിഗ്നിഫയർ എപ്പോഴും സിഗ്നിഫൈഡിലോട്ട് കൊണ്ടെത്തിക്കുന്നു എന്നാണ് സ്ട്രക്ചറലിസ്റ്റ് പറയുന്നത്. That you can locate meaning. One signifier leads to a signified. It gives you the concept. ഇപ്പോൾ പലതരത്തിലുള്ള മരങ്ങളായിരിക്കാം, ട്രീ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ പലതരത്തിലുള്ള മരങ്ങളായിരിക്കാം, പക്ഷെ ആ കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് അവിടെ വരുന്നുണ്ട്. Okay, concept എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് a wooden trunk and different branches, but it might be a jackfruit tree to somebody, it might be a mango tree to someone, it might be the painting, depends. But there is a concept of that particular tree that is coming to the mind. അതാണ് സ്ട്രക്ചറലിസ്റ്റ് പറയുന്നത്, that it leads to the signified. There is an ultimate signified എന്നുള്ളത്. ഇത് തന്നെയാണ് ഈ ട്രാൻസെൻഡൻ്റൽ സിഗ്നിഫൈഡ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ഉദ്ദേശിച്ച് വരുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ട്രാൻസെൻഡൻ്റൽ സിഗ്നിഫൈഡിനകത്ത് പറയുമ്പോൾ ലോഗോസെൻട്രിക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ലോഗോസെൻട്രിസിസം അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ലോഗോസെൻട്രിസ്, when they suggest transcendental signified, it means that there is an ultimate truth, ultimate end, ultimate essence, ultimate reality, ultimate meaning ഉണ്ടെന്നാണ് സ്ട്രക്ചറലിസ്റ്റ് പറയുന്നത്. പക്ഷേ ഇതിനെയാണ് ആര് ഡെറിഡ ഡീകൺസ്ട്രക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്, ഡീസെൻട്രലൈസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ലെറ്റ്സ് സീ ഹൗ ഹി ഡസ് ദിസ്. ഓക്കെ, because this is very important. Deconstruction is very, very important when it comes to the post theories, because this post structuralism was a revolution എന്ന് തന്നെ പറയാം. ആഫ്റ്റർ ഹ്യൂമാനിസം ഇങ്ങനെ സ്വീപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് ഭയങ്കര ഒരു വലിയ റെവല്യൂഷൻ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത പോലെ തന്നെയാണ് പോസ്റ്റ് സ്ട്രക്ചറലിസം ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. നമ്മുടെ ഈ പോസ്റ്റ് തിയറീസ് എല്ലാം പോസ്റ്റ് സ്ട്രക്ചറലിസത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു കണ്ടിന്യൂവേഷൻ തന്നെയാണ്. ഓക്കെ, ഈവൻ ദ വെരി ന്യൂ കൾച്ചറൽ സ്റ്റഡീസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൾച്ചറൽ സ്റ്റഡീസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ആ തിയറി, ഇറ്റ്സ് നോട്ട് വെരി ന്യൂ, ബട്ട് കൾച്ചറൽ സ്റ്റഡീസ് വരെ ഡീകൺസ്ട്രക്ഷനും പോസ്റ്റ് സ്ട്രക്ചറലിസത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഭാഗമാണ്. Okay, അപ്പോൾ ഈ മെയിൻ കോൺസെപ്റ്റ്, how does he deconstruct all these things? Let us see. He says that we cannot understand the signified എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് ഒരിക്കലും ഒന്നിൻ്റെയും ഒരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മീനിങ് നമുക്ക് പൂർണ്ണമായിട്ട് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ല. According to the structuralist, I told you, everything is the sign. Okay, it is formed by the signifier and the signified. അതൊരു സിഗ്നിഫൈഡിലോട്ട്, ഒരു സിഗ്നിഫയർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ വാക്ക്, ആ ഒരു സൈൻ എന്തിലോട്ട് എത്തിക്കുന്നു? സിഗ്നിഫൈഡിലോട്ട് എത്തിക്കുന്നു. അതൊരു വാക്കാവാം, അല്ല എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സൈൻ ആവാം, ഒരു സിമ്പിൾ ആവാം, എന്തായാലും അതൊരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റ്, ഒരു ഇമേജിലോട്ട് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കോൺസെപ്റ്റിലോട്ട്, സിഗ്നിഫൈഡിലോട്ട് കൊണ്ടെത്തിക്കുന്നു അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ് ആയിട്ട്. എന്നാണ് സ്ട്രക്ചറലിസ്റ്റ് പറയുന്നത്. Now Derrida says we cannot fix meaning like that because meaning is never fixed. Meaning എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിന് ഒരു ഫിക്സേഷൻ ഇല്ല. There is no fixed meaning to or meaning does not have any fixed or permanent position. Every signifier is going to signify something. Signifier and the signified. But Derrida says that meaning is a matter of difference. Okay? It is a matter of difference. It is a continuous postponement. It moves from one signifier to another signifier and is continuously endless. അതായത് ഒരു സിഗ്നിഫയറിൽ നിന്നും വേറൊരു സിഗ്നിഫൈഡിലോട്ട് എത്തുമെന്ന് നമ്മൾ വിചാരിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അത് തെറ്റായ ഒരു ധാരണയാണ്. ബിക്കോസ് ഒരു സിഗ്നിഫയറിൽ നിന്നും സിഗ്നിഫൈഡിലോട്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ഇമേജിലോട്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റിലോട്ടോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിൻ്റെ അർത്ഥത്തിലോട്ടോ അല്ല എത്തുന്നത്, നേരെ മറിച്ച് വേറൊരു സിഗ്നിഫയറിലോട്ടാണ് എത്തുന്നത്. ഒരു സിഗ്നിഫൈഡ് എത്തിയാൽ തന്നെ അത് വേഗം സ്ലൈഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അടുത്ത സിഗ്നിഫയറിലോട്ട് പോകുന്നു. മനസ്സിലാവുന്നില്ല എന്ന് മനസ്സിലായി പറഞ്ഞു തരാം. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ, ലയണിനെ എടുക്കുക. ഒരു വാക്ക് വെൻ ഐ സേ ലയൺ, നിങ്ങളുടെ പലർക്കും ചിലപ്പോൾ ലയണിനെ ആയിരിക്കും ഓർമ്മ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടാവുക. പക്ഷേ വേറെ കുറച്ച് പേർക്ക് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വേറെ ചിലർക്ക് ലയൺ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ചിലപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് തന്നെ ലയൺ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ മൈ സ്റ്റാർ സൈൻ ഇസ് ലിയോ. ഓക്കെ, സോ വെൻ ഇറ്റ് സ്പീക്സ് അബൌട്ട് ലയൺ, ഫസ്റ്റ് തിങ് ദാറ്റ് കംസ് ടു മൈ മൈൻഡ് ഈസ് ദാറ്റ് ഓഫ് മൈ സ്റ്റാർ സൈൻ. Another thing is lion is the king of the jungle, right? So lion എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ കിങ് എന്നുള്ളൊരു അർത്ഥമായിരിക്കാം എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ വരുന്നത്. കിങ് എന്നുള്ള അർത്ഥം നേരെ പോകുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു കിങ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന അർത്ഥം വരുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിലും അവിടെ എന്താണ് ആ കിങ് അടുത്ത ഒരു സിഗ്നിഫയർ അല്ലേ, ഒരു വാക്കല്ലേ. ഒരു കിങ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു ഇമേജ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് വന്നാൽ തന്നെയും ദാറ്റ് ഇമേജ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് a concept or an image, it has another name, right? ഇപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിനകത്ത് ലയൺ എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ പെട്ടെന്ന് വരുന്നത് ക്വീൻ എലിസബത്ത് ആയിരിക്കും. ഓക്കെ, ക്വീൻ എലിസബത്ത് വാസ് എ ലയൺ in her ruling. She was a very brave monarch. So ക്വീൻ എലിസബത്ത് ആയിരിക്കും എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിനകത്ത് വരുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ക്വീൻ എലിസബത്ത് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ക്വീനാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അടുത്ത ഈ ക്വീൻ, അപ്പോൾ ലയണിൽ നിന്നും അടുത്ത സിഗ്നിഫയറിലോട്ടാണ് പോയത് ക്വീൻ. ഓക്കെ, ക്വീൻ എലിസബത്ത്, ക്വീനിൽ നിന്നും പെട്ടെന്ന് കുറച്ച് നേരം അത് സ്ലൈഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അടുത്തതിലോട്ട് പോകുന്നു ഇംഗ്ലണ്ട്, ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് എംപയറിൽ നിന്നും അത് പോകുന്നു കോളനിയിൽ നിന്നും നേരെ പോകുന്നു ഇന്ത്യ ഓർ ദി അതർ കോളനീസ്. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു സിഗ്നിഫയറിൽ നിന്നും എത്ര ഒരു എൻഡ്ലെസ് ചെയിനാണ് എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുള്ളത്. സോ വെയർ ക്യാൻ യു ലൊക്കേറ്റ് ദ മീനിങ്? ഹൗ ക്യാൻ യു ഫൈൻഡ് ദി അൾട്ടിമേറ്റ് മീനിങ്? നോ, യു കാൺട്ട് ഫൈൻഡ് ഇറ്റ്. Okay, so he says that meaning is infinite and we can never get the absolute meaning of a single word, and that's what the logocentric say. The transcendental signified means the ultimate one, the ultimate truth or the ultimate absolute meaning. We cannot. Derrida says this is not we can never get to the absolute meaning. Why? Because whatever we speak, whatever we speak, a word that is a signifier, it is not going to lead to a signified. Rather, it leads us further away from it. It leads us to another signifier. Any signified or whatever signified that comes to your mind is not fixed. Signified also seeks meaning. For example, lion, that is what I said right now, is not actually going to signify a lion for me. Perhaps lion may lead me to another concept, a king. Okay, and gradually I try to find out what the lion is. So even the signified is seeking meaning. So there is a chain of signifiers. A chain of signifiers according to Derrida, and no signified, no concept, no fixed concept. It keeps changing from one to the other. So if you are trying to understand a particular meaning of a word, you cannot get the meaning because it slides to another concept. Each meaning, each image that comes to your mind is not exactly a signified. Though it comes as a signified, it is actually another signifier, which leads to yet another signified, which again leads to another signifier. And it is endless. It keeps going. No center, no margin, no totality. So meaning cannot be understood since there is no stable meaning. Since every signifier do not refer to a thing, but it refers to another signified, there can be multiple meanings. So it is a chain of signifiers. Okay, whenever we think of an object, we do not directly get a particular signified. We are getting another signified instead. Another signifier instead. Lion. Okay, it goes when I think about the lion, it leads me to another concept. It leads me to the concept of the crown. Then it leads me to the concept of a king. Then it leads me to the concept of a particular empire. Then it leads me to a concept of whether the king was benevolent, or whether the king was a despot or a tyrant, and so on. So this creates an endless chain of signifiers and signified. So we think that we will reach the ultimate signified. No, it keeps going. So according to the structuralists, when they say the word lion, it is going to give the meaning of the image lion and nothing more than that. It may be a big lion, a fat lion, a female lion, a lioness, etc. But it leads to the concept of lion. But the post-structuralist says that that is wrong. Don't think that it is going to create the same meaning for everyone. It leads to a complete change of meaning. Multiple meanings are going to be created in everyone's mind. Okay, it leads to a chain of signifiers. So you can never get the actual meaning. That is meant by difference. So the word difference itself, if you look at the word difference, that word itself is meaningless because it does not give any concept. Meaning is never a matter, is a matter of difference. Okay, meaning is infinite. So to find meaning, we may go on searching for the meaning. As a result, we do not get a fixed meaning. Rather, we undergo a chain of signifiers. As soon as we get one signified, it suddenly slides or slips and becomes another signifier. And every signifier or a word is going to lead us to another word and not its concept. And we keep searching for the concept till we feel we got it, but again it slides to another concept. It is endless. So it boils down to this, that a signifier leads to chain of signifiers and not signified, as stated by the structuralists. Meaning cannot be understood. There is no structure, there is no center. This is the process of decentering. Post-structuralist tries to break the concepts propounded by the structuralists, especially the concept that one signifier leads to the signified. Post-structuralist says that it does not happen. Signifier does not lead to the signified, rather it brings a chain of signifiers and not the signified. So no meaning, endless chain of significations. Every signified is also in turn, again they also say the same, another thing that I told you earlier. Every signified also, that concept also is in turn another signifier. For example, the tree. When I say tree, it could be a jackfruit tree. So the concept that is signified, jackfruit tree, is a signified. And this is different in its utterance. This is jackfruit tree, not just tree alone. Jackfruit tree. So it is another signifier. Okay. So this becomes a different signifier from the word or from the signifier tree, a new signifier, jackfruit tree. Okay. Meaning, therefore, is full of free play. That's what he says in page 61 in You. Okay, the play, Derrida suggests the play is reality and truth is possible only on the basis of the possibility of play and not vice versa. So meaning is therefore free play. One signifier leads to another signified, which itself becomes another signifier, which leads to another signified. Again it continues. It is an endless game. It is a free play. So the ultimate concept, which is called the transcendental signified according to the logocentrists. Yeah, remember the transcendental signified, that is the ultimate concept, the ultimate word, the ultimate meaning, the ultimate truth, that is never attained, that is never reached. So Derrida deconstructs that using difference. Clear? The next concept that he speaks about is bricolage. Bricolage is actually a concept given by Claude Lévi-Strauss. Now Lévi-Strauss used it to describe the characteristic pattern of mythology. Bricolage means a skill of using whatever is at hand and combining them to create a new one. For example, your DIY videos, whatever you get in your house, whatever used things that you have, whatever things that you have thrown, you collect all those things and you make something new out of it. Yeah, somewhat similar to that. So bricolage is using whatever is there at hand to create something new. Lévi-Strauss compares this to the working of an engineer. An engineer also does the same. He creates something new. It is this skill of using bits of whatever we find and combining them to create something new that he calls, Lévi-Strauss calls bricolage. Strauss makes, using this, Strauss gives a concept. Strauss makes a hierarchy between the artist and the critic. Artist is the originator and critic comes later. Artist uses the first-hand raw material as the engineer does, but critic uses the second-hand raw material. So as critic, we use the text, and the text is the, what is that? What do we do if we are critics? If we are to call ourselves critics, then what we use is a second-hand. Okay, we use a second-hand raw material. And which is the first-hand raw material? The first-hand raw material is the text that is given to us by the original person, the originator. That is, the text is made up of original language, the raw material. The text is made up of words. The raw materials are the words. And it is created by whom? It is created by the artist. And therefore, the artist, he uses the first-hand material, that is the raw materials, the original language, words, etc. in his text, and then this text is given to whom? Given to the critic, and the critic, when he analyzes the text or uses the text, he makes critical analysis, and therefore what is he using? He is using the second-hand raw material. So Strauss creates a hierarchy between the artist and the critic. He says that the artist comes first and then the critic. Now this theory was, which was given by Strauss, was contradicted by Derrida. Derrida said that neither the artist nor the critic's works are first-hand material. Rather, both use the material that existed and that was used, in the sense that there is no hierarchy between them. There is no hierarchy between the artist and the critic. There is no power like that the artist is given more power and the critic is secondary. Both are, or both uses what? Both uses this material that was already used, that already existed. Okay, so he dismantles the hierarchy between the artist and the critic. Derrida criticizes Lévi-Strauss' idea of engineer, saying that it is not possible for anyone to be absolute original in his or her own discourse, or to create a totality of his language, syntax, or lexicon. Even the artists are not absolute originals. He has also borrowed something from somewhere. So he too is using or he too uses the second hand raw material. So that's with Jacques Derrida, and I have covered all the important concepts given by him. I have finished pages. Now all you have to do is just go through the text from page 56 onwards to 61. So we have completed up to 61, and now I shall quickly do Roland Barthes and Michel Foucault. Now I want you to bear this thing in mind. Which one? Language as a powerful tool, because very soon we are going to use that when it comes to Foucault. Okay, so thank you and keep safe.